For the last few years, artificial intelligence in the classroom meant a student typing prompts into a basic chatbot. That initial wave of novelty has passed. Schools are now dealing with the arrival of Agentic AI, systems engineered to pursue complex, long-horizon objectives entirely on their own. Generative AI operates as a reactive copilot, requiring continuous human instruction to move through a task. Agentic AI functions as a proactive autopilot, mapping out goals, executing required steps, and self-correcting along the way with zero human intervention. This leap in capability has flipped the institutional debate. Administrators are no longer asking if they should use these tools. They are focused entirely on how to govern them. Continuing to run a traditional educational system while surrounded by autonomous intelligence is an exercise in futility. In academic research, this is known as the dead horse theory. The realization that when the horse you are riding dies, the only logical action is to dismount. Agentic AI acts as a permanent structural evolution, compelling a total systemic reorganization of how global education is managed and measured. To understand why schools are adopting this so aggressively, we have to look at how an agentic system actually operates. It is defined by its ability to translate a high-level concept into a sequence of actionable steps, while maintaining a memory of past interactions to inform future behavior. These models use reflective frameworks, allowing them to self-monitor and adjust their pedagogical approach based on real-time shifts in a student's performance. This compares a traditional AI workflow with an agentic one. On the left, an educator manually prompts a model to draft a specific quiz. On the right, an agent monitors the learning management system, autonomously generating tailored interventions when anomalies are detected. This automation addresses an acute crisis. Teachers average 53 weekly hours. These workflows create a 25% reduction in administrative load, saving educators 6 hours a week. Teams of specialized AI agents handle the repetitive, non-instructional labor. They execute baseline grading, orchestrate data analytics, and draft complex documentation like individualized education programs. They also manage complex differentiation. An educator can define multiple distinct learner profiles, and the system autonomously generates curriculum-aligned, accessibility-compliant materials tailored to each profile simultaneously. Adapting a single lesson for dozens of distinct learning needs is critical for student success, but it remains physically impossible for a human to sustain at scale without technological assistance. The primary economic value of these tools is the reclamation of time. They remove the bureaucratic burden so teachers can focus on high-value socio-emotional interactions with their students. To find out if this division of labor actually improves learning, researchers analyzed over 80 peer-reviewed and industry studies published between 2023 and 2025. The data revealed a definitive pattern. Classrooms using a structured hybrid approach consistently outperform both traditional environments and fully autonomous AI tutoring systems. In this optimal model, the algorithm handles personalized practice and immediate scaffolding. By monitoring real-time engagement, the system develops anticipatory insight. It identifies students struggling in high-risk courses and sends immediate alerts to the teacher before critical failures occur. Those alerts are received by the human instructor. Relieved of endless data tracking, the teacher manages classroom dynamics, builds emotional connections, and executes second-order pedagogical decisions. The results of this specific configuration are easily measured. Schools implementing this hybrid structure report 40 to 50% gains in student computational thinking scores. They also see a 25 to 35% increase in student engagement across science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. This presence of autonomous intelligence shifts the human role, requiring educators to act as expert orchestrators of highly complex, optimized learning environments. Despite these empirical results, policy advocates are raising warnings. The aggressive push toward AI threatens to lock public education systems into expensive, inescapable corporate tech stacks. Running multi-agent models requires massive digital infrastructure. Technology firms are effectively utilizing finite public school budgets to defray their own computing costs, transferring wealth away from human support staff directly to private entities. To protect student data from corporate extraction, institutions place populations inside a walled garden. This localized, privately managed ecosystem secures sensitive records to comply with privacy laws. but relies on heavily restricted, generic chatbot architectures. This creates a difficult paradox. By deploying artificial guardrails to successfully mitigate privacy risks, public schools cripple the technology their students are allowed to use. Meanwhile, wealthy districts and affluent households purchase premium subscriptions for unrestricted multi-agent models. These systems act as sophisticated, continuous Socratic tutors. This creates an educational postcode lottery. Wealthy students learn to collaborate with and direct autonomous agentic teams, mastering the exact literacy required for the modern workforce. Students in underfunded districts are left interacting passively with constrained systems. By relying on artificially restricted networks, public schools leave their graduates ill-prepared for the unfiltered digital economy compared to privately educated peers. This divide goes far beyond software access. It is built deeply into the architecture of the AI models themselves. Researchers describe this architectural flaw as data colonialism. AI systems developed in the global north train on behavioral data extracted from diverse populations all over the world. But that data is processed entirely through the assumptions, linguistic norms, and interests of Western developers. In a classroom setting, this manifests as algorithmic bias. Predictive analytics frequently flag non-dominant languages or cultural vernacular as actual academic deficiencies. Because many of these applications use complex neural networks, their internal decision-making pathways are totally opaque. A machine labels a vulnerable student as at risk based on untraceable parameters, removing all transparency from the evaluation. These risks to equity and privacy sparked a legislative reaction. In 2025, policymakers abandoned exploratory pilot programs, pivoting to rigorous state governance. Montana passed a right-to-compute law, mandating strict risk management policies for critical infrastructure controlled by AI. Arkansas quickly followed by enacting specific intellectual property protections for AI-generated content in educational settings. The free market cannot handle this transition on its own. Without strict standardized frameworks, introducing these tools into public classrooms merely automates existing societal biases. The legacy educational model relies on rote memorization and unassisted, standardized long-form writing as the primary metric of understanding. For years, human resource departments have recognized that these traditional academic credentials increasingly fail to predict real-world competence. Agentic systems can already pass standardized national exams perfectly and execute complex reasoning tasks in virtually any language. Institutions that continue to prioritize unassisted long-form writing are preparing your graduates for a professional environment that no longer exists. In this landscape, traditional writing proficiency has lost its utility as a primary metric of human intelligence. This chart highlights how massive educational bureaucracies engage in performative compliance. They deploy advanced AI simply to optimize the grading of their legacy standardized tests, changing the names of policies to create the illusion of progress while strictly preserving an outdated curriculum. This is the dead horse theory in action. Institutions use highly sophisticated symbolic behaviors to avoid actual reform. But this inertia crashes into modern labor realities. Workers with advanced AI skills command a 43% wage premium over identical roles lacking those competencies. The modern era requires a new model. Schools must pivot away from tasks that can be automated and prioritize durable skills, ethical reasoning, socio-emotional intelligence, and the ability to lead human teams. To prepare students for the economy they are actually entering, institutions must aggressively fund equitable access to premium agentic models, abandon obsolete assessment frameworks, and finally dismount the dead horse.